This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Good evening. At this time, I'm going to open up the Southampton Planning Board meeting for June 3rd, 2026. We are televised on Channel 191 on Charter, or I should say Spectrum. We have a quorum this evening. Jim LaBrie to my right, Mark Darnold, and our newly elected member, Robert Riggs. I want to welcome Robert, who was elected last month and was sworn in, and this is his first meeting. So we will continue to proceed with the agenda, and I'm going to take out of order because we're waiting to get some technical issues rectified from the first applicant. I have to schedule a public hearing for a residential stormwater permit for 64 Cold Spring Road. There's no plans in front of you at all yet. It was going to be advertised in the next 2 weeks. The hearing will be held here and will be held on June 24th. I have canceled the June 17th meeting and moved it back a week to make provision for that stormwater permit, but also because this meeting more than likely will be continued and we probably will have some other business as well. So I'm pushing it back to June 24th. This was a situation where I mentioned at the last meeting, a developer, a construction company started to, had excavated a site and did not check the total area square footage for a stormwater permit, and it exceeded an acre. So we had to stop his operation until he comes before this board and gets his stormwater permit. So his construction is being delayed. We have another similar case that's happening over on Crooked Ledge, and that one is still, I haven't gotten any plans on that, but that was another project that was stopped because the applicant exceeded the 40,000 square foot limit. I approved, since our last meeting, a building permit, and for Bob Riggs' information, because he's new, any building permit that comes before us, or I get, everything's online now, and the building permit, the disturbance of the area for the house being built is under 40,000 square feet, which would trigger the stormwater. The board several years ago, instead of coming before the board and delaying the application process, because we only met twice a week, or twice a month, which would be a couple of weeks, and delay construction, the board voted to have the chairman sign the A&R after, with the board's approval, if it was under 40,000 square feet. So I'm coming before you tonight to say that I had it verified. It's at 116 East Street here in Southampton, and I approved that endorsed that building permit on May 31st. So all I'm looking for is an approval from the board, just confirming that I had initiated that.
I motion that we approve your
building permit, yeah.
Yeah.
116 East Street. I'll second it.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I have a warrant from Richard Harris, our board consultant, and this is for the entire fiscal year of 25-26. We hadn't had a lot of business in the last year, and most of his consulting was maybe a couple of meetings, some Zoom meetings, mostly emails, phone conversations. We have a contract with him, Robert, every year that we sign, and this year I believe we approved it for this fiscal year to be under I think it was $3,000. It wasn't $5,000. I think it was like $3,000 to improve his services. So his entire work invoice totals $24.75 for 27 and a half hours at $90 an hour, plus mileage when he had to come here to Town Hall. And they were all, again, emails, phone calls, drafting the battery energy storage bylaw that we're working on, drafting a revised fee schedule, which we haven't approved yet, and review and work on updating the planning board policies and procedures. So his entire bill for the year was $24.75. So I'm looking for a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion to approve the warrant for Richard Harris for $2,475 for the, that's the fiscal year
25-26.
25-26.
I'll second that.
Motion is made and seconded. Any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Before Attorney Parisi is ready.
Give me 1 second.
Attorney LaCurry, while I'm waiting for this, do you have something to say? Otherwise, it's going to be a long time before you have to wait to be heard.
I was here for the release of lots 5 and 6. I know an issue came up as to the acceptance of the Gill Farm Road. I thought there was some minor issues, and it's still, the issue is whether or not there's grass or crabgrass in the detention area. You know, there was no requirement that we put in sprinklers or anything. These summers, you know, haven't been that rainy, more or less, and, you know, it just came up, it's come up, we tried to power seed it, and we'll try to hydro seed it again as much as we can, but, you know, that's holding the soil in there, so whether it be grass or, this is not a master's putting green or something like that, but we'd like it to come better and everything, we'll work with you, but we'd like to get the lots 5 and 6 released. If you want us to put up some money or whatever, we're ready, willing, and able to do that, but we've got 2 lots sold, and, you know, up until last week, Mr. Furman, the engineer hired by the town, didn't seem like it was a problem. And now he's saying because of the crabgrass is growing.
All right, so we have 2 different issues here. You've been through this process, and that's why I'm going to lean on you for this. He has been trying to get the road accepted, but it's not acceptable to the town highway super or John Furman, the consultant engineer. He's also requesting 2 lots to be released. Can we, outside of the road acceptance issue, can we release any more lots until the work is completed in the subdivision to their satisfaction? Lots are released prior to that, or are they?
I mean, if it's a dollar figure, come up with a figure. I mean,
Hold on a minute.
Well, what I'm looking for is, first of all, did Randall and John give us a list to look at?
They had a list, and they've copied him on it now for, this has been going on for a couple of months, back and forth.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
But that has all been relative to street acceptance. Do we need to have this work complete for lot release?
Form of surety, was it a form of surety? We held 2 lots?
Exactly.
So transferring that over to a cash surety is what you're searching, a cash surety? You want to put money up instead of the lots because you want to sell the lots, is that correct?
yeah, we want to sell those last 2 lots. We've got them under purchase and sale for conveyance by the 15th.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're talking a dollar figure, we'll come up with a reasonable figure.
That's why, without seeing the list, I don't know what the list is. It's hard to value that. I couldn't at this point.
But I've got a contractor, Randy Wilson, who's put in subdivisions all over Western Mass for years. I've never had a problem with him. Every subdivision's been accepted. I'm a little bit baffled that there's some problem with this, to be honest with you, and the problem seems to be bobbing and weaving at various times.
Yeah. I think the first thing is, for me, I would like to see a list of what the deficiencies are.
All right, here's some, this is from John Furman, the consultant. This is after Randall went out and made assessments of a tree damage, dead trees on the lot, some of the erosion control, grass seeding in areas, etc. I agree with Randall's assessment. I performed the initial reinspection on my own time as I drove past to work. I stopped in after Gary's email stating everything was done and easily noticed it had not been done. Some of these items are readily visible, so a quick drive-through, the property shows that what is done and what is not. The developer was put on notice during the initial planning board meetings of 2 items of planning board experience on other projects. The first was damage to the berm. This was being done by the companies delivering building products to the houses, and the applicant was told any damage would be their responsibility. The second item was the erosion and sediment control from each lot. The builders seem to have caught on that if they stay under 40,000 square feet of disturbance, they don't need a stormwater and erosion permit and also don't need erosion control. The developer is responsible for cleaning up until the town accepts the roadway. Given past performance on this site, I would not recommend the town accept the roadway until all is built, as these issues will become the town's problem. So there's some stormwater issues, cleanouts. Evidently, the HOA has not been taking care of the stormwater system there. So there's items that highway super and the consultant have identified, and it is in direct opposite of what Mr. LaCourie here is trying to tell us. They don't see it that way.
Well, in terms of the tree, the dead tree, we've ordered a new tree that should be coming in. And in terms of the detention basin, I just got an email from Furman again today saying, well, it's coming up crabgrass. I don't know how you grow a grass in that detention area. They talked about the basins themselves. Mr. Furman inspected them months ago.
We're not going to belabor this because, number one, it wasn't on the agenda, and number two, I'm trying to get to the bottom. This street acceptance is going to be separate from what you're looking for tonight.
I concur with you.
You're looking tonight for lot release.
Lot release. That's what I was here
That's what
for.
we're doing. So
But at the same time, if you want to come up with a figure, we're willing to do it.
We're trying to figure out.
Yeah, we're just trying to figure out what the issues are. So in my mind, I'll throw a number, but
Go ahead.
I don't have a problem with releasing lots and putting into having a surety of cash instead. I personally, I'm only one of 5 members, but I would like to know. So I see that there's berms. You got the crabgrass growing
There's
up.
a berm,
Then you have
grass that hasn't been grown yet. It's probably seeded, but it hasn't been watered enough to take.
The berm damage,
Some
what's the
cleanouts in the,
stormwater? What's the stormwater violation or the problem with stormwater?
yeah,
Is it just
the basins.
barriers failing, or is it erosion? I'm not sure. Just to back up and give you a little history, there was another subdivision in town that we ran into a lot of issues, a lot of small issues that ended up being, the big item. And we had to fight that, and we had to go back, and we actually had to take some of the surety, fix it ourselves.
All
We
right.
had to have it done, so.
Bob and Mark, come over here, please. I can't get this any bigger, really, on my phone. All
You should be able
right,
to zoom in just, yeah. there you
so this is the seating area.
go. Yeah.
Something about silt fence that need to be removed. That's seeing remnants of a silt fence.
Oh,
All right, and there's some
Yeah.
seating.
yeah.
there's different contractors that have worked in the subdivision, and
Here's the other cleanouts he's talking about.
Which is declared in.
As noted, And his comment is, as noted in previous inspection, vegetation looks weedy, poor, and does not look maintained by photo B. The riprap looks unchanged from the last time I was there. And if the sediment forebay is supposed to have been constructed according to approved plans, it appears that it would have maintenance of the forebay difficult. Applicant states that tree replacement has not been completed yet. This is the one he just referred to that
Yep.
would be replaced. Pile of bags seems to have been cleaned up, but as I noted, near the entrance, there is a line of 5 to 6 foot conifers. One of them is dead and only the stump remains. Wind has blown leaves and full waterling bags surrounding this dead tree. There's some gravel.
Is that the berm they're talking about? I don't know.
Berm damage is very minimal.
Yeah, that's what I thought they were showing in that picture, I think.
Berm, this is the dead tree he's referring to.
Yeah,
The berm damage, you look at the subdivision next door, there's some small marks, there's bigger marks that were made on County Road or Pequot Road, by the town vehicles, but the berm damage is, they said if we put up $3,500 or something like that, we could have it fixed cheaper than that.
That seems a little low to me.
right, okay.
I just wonder, it sounds like it's a small thing to do, but to hire someone, that we have to go through the process of hiring someone, maybe $3,500 for a contractor that's under contract with a private citizen, but for the town to hire a contractor, we have to go through the bidding process, et cetera. So unless we have some kind of estimate prepared by John or someone to give us an idea, and then realize that we have to also include the cost of the town going through the process of hiring someone. It's just $3,500 what it would probably cost your contractor to do it, but to have the town pick that up.
The towns gave the figure, they gave us the figure, whatever, but we'd like to do it ourselves, to be honest with you. But you look at that versus the subdivision next door,
We're not going to be comparing here. We've got
I'd like to get the lots released.
We've got to get something on the agenda here, so let's see if we can decide this. What shall we do?
Well, first of all, are we allowed to make a decision tonight without it on the agenda? That's my first question.
Well, he has been asked to be on it before, and I've reneged on it, but he's got to close on the 15th on some of these lots.
This month, we're closing this month?
June 15th. And there's sales to a contractor who's built 2 of the other houses on that street. The houses are nice, the street is a nice street.
Right. Me, if I was, I'll just throw this out there, without having a formal estimate from somebody that really knows, that I would throw a $40,000 figure on it, switching it from 2 lots to cash. And we can alter that at the next meeting and go down more if
The work is
the
done.
work is done, or if we have an estimate that's less than that. I think 40 grand would far cover that, but that will get you to your closing, and then if we put it on the agenda for June 24th, we can adjust it down if it's less.
I mean, you've asked for 35, can we agree on 20,000? We'll put 20,000 up for the,
Without the appraisal, I just don't know, that's
Yeah.
all. I was just shooting high, just to be safe.
I know Mr. Furman came back to me today and talked about the fact that there's crabgrass over there, and
Yeah, I'm looking at crabgrass, the tree, the berm, and the stormwater, and I just threw a number out there. I don't know. I'm open for just, whatever you guys think. If we make a decision tonight, we have to be safe.
What do you think? You've been
Yeah, I
through this
think,
before.
put in a significant
reasonable?
figure, and then if it's, totally fixed by the next time we have a hearing, then we can, give the money back. But I don't have a problem in getting the security, but I think it has to be something that's comfortable and would motivate the owner or contractor to complete the job.
What would you recommend? Would you recommend the 40 or compromise in between that?
Yeah,
30?
a 30 would probably, I think that's probably fair. I mean, it's
30,000?
Yeah.
My client will accept it. I don't want to do it, I feel, but whatever, I want to move on with this. We want to correct it, and we want to finish this up.
Do we have a motion for cash surety?
Okay, release the 2 lots. You said
That
5 and
was
6?
5 and 6.
Number 5 and 6.
Yep, and then go to a cash surety, once that's in place with the town clerk.
Tell me how you want it, you put a bank, whatever, and,
Yeah, there's a process to go through. So once that's complete, then we can release those 2 lots and,
Cash surety
Okay.
of 30,000.
yep. And then put it on the agenda for the 24th if you'd like, and then we.
24th, the next meeting, because it was supposed to be, I think, the 7th.
It's not going to be, it's going to
Okay,
be the
all right, all right.
24th.
It got pushed out a week.
24th is fine, yeah.
Yeah, then we can put you on the agenda for that, and hopefully if we have more data, then we can be in more in line where it should be. I know it seems excessive, but we're just trying to cover
You're
ourselves.
doing your job, I understand,
All right,
So
so
is
the
that a
motion, that's your motion then, Mark. Let me reread it. We're going to release lots 5 and 6 on Gill Farm Way with cash surety of $30,000, which will be reduced if work is completed to the board's satisfaction and the highway superintendent, and we will review this on June 24th meeting.
Or if it's not completed, if we have an estimate from Randall or John with a number, we could actually change the surety at that point, or the cash surety.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Would you say or estimated cost?
Or an estimated cost from Randall or
Yep.
John.
All right,
I will second that.
so you made the motion.
Oh, okay, I know, we were both talking.
No.
Motion by Jim, seconded by Mark. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Bob, you can abstain if you want. All right.
When do you need the funds?
We need that.
Is it Lucy or the treasurer we're gonna go to?
The town clerk or-
The town clerk, I think the town clerk.
Doesn't it go to the treasurer?
Yeah, but Lucy might have the form. I mean, I think there's a form for surety
All right.
you gotta fill out. I would go talk to Lucy.
I think there's a
So-
form in the subdivision regulations for surety, too.
Yes, exactly.
You got subdivision regulations at your disposal?
I'm sure I've got them online.
There's a form in there regarding that.
Okay.
It's
all right.
old, but it's the only one that they might
As
have.
long as it works, that's fine.
All right,
Okay, thank you.
okay. I got a headache and the main attraction hasn't even started yet. All right. You all set, Francis? All right, let me,
The projector, your projector?
Oh, yeah.
You're not tall enough, Paul.
where's my remote at home?
There you go, good job.
While you're setting that up, I'm going to read the application and the legal notice. We have a zoning application for a cell tower at 1 Cook Road. The applicant is Atlantic Tower LLC. It's going to be represented tonight by Francis Parisi from Parisi Law Associates out of Providence, Rhode Island. The property owner is Mark Gerard and Diane Godick of 118 Cook Road. What I'll need from you, Mr. Parisi, did you bring me the abutters cards from the mailing?
Well, I wasn't aware I needed to bring them. I do have them, but I'll bring them to the next meeting, but I don't have them with me.
All right, so that was both for Southampton and Easthampton, right?
Correct, we did both.
Right. This is what the legal announcement was published and was also mailed to the abutters. Notice is hereby given in accordance with provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, that the Southampton Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, June 3rd at 7 p.m. Town Hall, College Highway. Board will consider an application from Atlantic Tower LLC to construct a wireless communications facility, including a 165-foot tower, 1 Cook Road, Southampton, map 30, parcel 11. This is subject to the provisions of Section 275, 7.2 and Article 9, Section 10.1 and 10.9 of the Southampton zoning bylaws. In addition, the applicant will conduct a visibility demonstration to a height of 160 feet to illustrate the location and height. Said demonstration will be held Tuesday, May 26, 2026, from 9 to noon, weather permitting. In the event of the inclement weather, it will be rescheduled to the next weekday and each successive weekday until weather and wind conditions permit the successful demonstration. A copy of the application may be reviewed at Town Hall's clerk Monday through Thursday, 8 to 4, or by email planningbboard@townofsouthampton.org. Paul Deeman, Southampton Planning Board. It's published in the Daily Hampshire Gazette on May 18th and May 25th. The towns of Easthampton, the city of Easthampton, the city of Holyoke, the city of Westfield, the city of Westhampton were all notified as well, being abutters of this community. And for the record, oh, you have some money for me too, correct? 2 checks, one for the application fee and one for the legal announcement. Thank you. I received several emails. I won't read them right now, or the names of the people right now. I will wait until the public discussion for that. But at this time, I would like to invite Attorney Parisi to give his presentation on the application going forward.
Good evening. My name is Francis Parisi, an attorney representing the applicant, Atlantic Tower. We're here tonight seeking a special permit and some waivers to construct what the bylaw calls a wireless communications facility, but I think the rest of the world calls it a cell tower at 1 Cook Road in Southampton. As the board is aware, we had a pre-application conference back in March, I believe. We filed the application. We did a visibility demonstration as required by your zoning bylaw, and we're here tonight at our first public hearing. Your zoning bylaw permits these type of facilities in pretty much all of your zoning districts, including the zoning district that we're in, which is the rural residential zoning district, subject to a special permit from the planning board.
Excuse me just a minute. It's not allowed in residential village, which we're in now, or commercial highway.
Right, but it is allowed in the resident. So we're in a permitted zone, subject to a special permit from the planning board. In addition, the zoning bylaw has several restrictions, one of which, the primary one, is height. And because of the various technical issues that we'll go into in great detail throughout this process, we're asking the board to waive the process. It's not akin to a variance from the zoning board. The zoning bylaw gives the planning board the authority to waive certain provisions. In addition, one of the requirements of the zoning bylaw is that the applicant be a licensed telecommunications carrier. And for a variety of reasons, which I'll go into in great detail, the applicant is a tower company, a wireless infrastructure developer. By way of introduction, Atlantic Tower is an affiliate of Vertex Towers, which has been very active in Massachusetts for the last many years. What's happened in the telecommunications world is the names you've heard of before, like Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile and other companies like that, have gotten out of the real estate business. And they've partnered up with folks like Atlantic to develop wireless infrastructure. Given the amount of time it takes, the amount of engineering that's required, the amount of due diligence that we have to do, it's a process that allows companies like Verizon to deploy their antennas and improve their service more rapidly by using companies like Atlantic to assist them in that process. We've been very successful in what I would call rural Massachusetts. We've built many facilities in areas equally rural to Southampton. We built, let's see where I am, Otis and Monterey, two just south of the, we've got approvals in Munson and just filed another tower application in Munson. Going north, we've got towers that we built in Ashfield, Coleraine, Shutesbury. We've got approvals in Conway, Buckland. We're going into another project in Shutesbury. So we built towers in Hubbardston. So for stuff west of Worcester, and certainly what I would call equally rural Massachusetts, we've been very successful. We also do work in Maine and New Hampshire and Vermont and other places that are equally challenging with respect to the terrain, the topography, the scenic vistas and things like that. In this particular case, we've partnered up with Verizon. We've received what's in our world is called a co-location application. Verizon intends to go on this tower when and if it gets permitted by the town and it's constructed. And I think you've all heard of Verizon. They're, I think, the third largest or second largest telecommunications company in the United States. We submitted a very extensive application package. I see you all have copies of it. I did pay the piling fees back with the town clerk. I think they misplaced a check, so I gave the board another one. We mailed out all the abutter notices. I'll kind of gloss over a lot of these things tonight, but I think the board recognizes that we've submitted a very extensive application package. In addition, the zoning bylaw requires us to do what we call a visibility demonstration. We put a balloon up in the air, we advertise it as best as possible, we put ads in the paper, we notified all the abutters, and I have photos and simulations that will show up on the screen tonight, and I'll also submit paper for the record. Why do we need another cell tower? The statistics are staggering. Over 50% of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts only owns a cell phone as their primary source of communications, or their only source of communications. Over 80%, and that number was 75% 5 years ago, it's now 80% of 911 calls are made by mobile phones. And, as we've seen since the pandemic, people are trying to work from home, educate from home. And what's happened, when I first started doing this, we thought cell phones were going to be a mobile technology, and people were going to use it as they drove up and down Route 90 and Route 10 and the major thoroughfares around Southampton. But what we found over the last several years, and certainly since the pandemic, that it's becoming a residential technology and a stationary technology. People are using their phones, and our phones do more. No one uses their phone as a phone anymore. They use it as an internet access device and to get streaming video and to watch NBA finals and while we're sitting in planning board meetings. So companies like Verizon, and especially Verizon, require more and more places to provide ubiquitous coverage. The other thing that's happening is as the technology improves, and as we use higher frequency bands to deploy faster internet service, the coverage that we enjoyed 5 and 7 years ago is diminishing. I'm sure everyone's going to tell you that from Cook Road, you can actually see the next set of antennas up on a very large hill in Holyoke. But what's happening is because of the capacity demands on the network and because of the increased technology and the increased bandwidth speed, the coverage from those facilities are shrinking. So, and as we've morphed from analog to digital technology and then to higher speed data, coverage that we had with analog phones are now diminishing. So as you know, we've submitted a lot of data to substantiate that. The facility, there are existing facilities in Holbrook. There's actually an existing facility in Southampton, but it certainly doesn't provide ubiquitous coverage in the area of Southampton and Easthampton that we're trying to cover here. And like I said, it's a relatively dense residential area. We understand that demands better coverage, and also, as we morph from a mobile technology to a residential technology, to a stationary technology, cell phone companies like Verizon require a better quality signal. We thought we were building networks for people to use in their cars, which is not a structural impediment to a cell phone signal. But as you move into a building like this with dense brick walls, or in a home with a basement or anything like that, it requires a better quality signal. And in addition, what's happened over the last several years is public safety is required to be able to pinpoint where a phone call is coming from. So when you dial 911 and you can't communicate your location, public safety has to be able to say, well, you're on Cook Street. And and that requires a better quality and a more substantial signal. Why are we here? We've done an immense amount of due diligence to look at potential locations, to look at alternative locations. This area of Southampton is challenging because a lot of the land is wet and owned by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and undevelopable because of conservation restrictions. Your zoning bylaw has very extensive setback requirements, so we need lots of size in order to satisfy that requirement. We've been working on this for several years to get to this point to find locations. We looked at many different locations, and this was the map that was in the package, but if I zoom it out, we looked at many different locations in the area. And you can kind of see as you go north into Easthampton or south into Southampton, you get into more densely residential neighborhoods with small house lots. So there's really only a few lots of size in the area. We also need to find a willing landowner, someone that's willing. These aren't huge cash cows. We lease literally a 50 by 50 postage stamp on an 18-acre parcel. And so finding landowners that are willing to put a cell tower on their property is a challenge. In this particular case, we were able to find the lot at 1 Cook Road. It's an active horse farm. It has existing access road driveways from Cook Road. It's 18 acres. There's a substantial vegetative buffer on all sides, especially to the west, to the east and south, going towards the Commonwealth of Massachusetts land. And because it's an active farm, we don't really have to clear any trees. I think there's 1 or 2 trees that we're taking down, but for the most part, we have no impact on the existing vegetation. So from our perspective, it complies with your zoning bylaw to minimize the amount of vegetation and also provide something that is as visually unobtrusive as possible. The lot, like I said, is 18 acres. The facility itself meets all required setbacks. One of the requirements is that we call it tower height setback, that the tower itself will be 160 feet tall, and the facility itself will be set back at least 160 feet from all abutting property lines, and that amply meets that. The other thing that makes this lot attractive is that there's an existing power line easement and a gas line easement that bifurcates the property. So it's already utility challenged, so let's say. It already has existing utility infrastructure there. So this, in sense, will dovetail that. Like I said, if you look to the east and the south, it's all undevelopable land owned by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And like I said, there's a very substantial vegetative buffer and requires minimal tree clearing. The compound itself is actually quite benign. We develop a 50 by 50 fenced-in compound. In this case, we don't have to take down any trees. Given the necessity to be where we are, we actually have to relocate one of the landowners' barns or horse shelters. But other than that, it's a minimal disturbance. The compound itself is just a small foundation for the tower to be designed, because we haven't designed it yet. After we get approval from the planning board, we go back and do more extensive geotechnical analysis to design a foundation very specific to the soils in this area. There'll be some small concrete pads surrounded by asphalt, but it's a de minimis amount of new impervious surface. Once it's constructed, there's about 6 weeks of construction activity. The facility is unmanned. There's no noise, there's no traffic, we don't require winter access. I'm not even sure if the landowner plows back there, but I know they have horses year-round, but we don't require winter access. Someone might come by maybe once a month to make sure the fence is intact, but all the equipment is remotely monitored, so it's really quite passive from a traffic and land use perspective. There's no, it's not manned, so we don't require water or sewer or any sanitary facilities. And like I said, it's a quite de minimis and really passive in nature. The tower itself is what we call a monopole facility. It's very similar to the existing facility already in Southampton, and there's ample examples throughout all the communities surrounding us. It's a slender pole, and when I say slender, it's about 5 feet in diameter, where all the cabling goes up through the middle of it to attach to antennas. As required by your zoning bylaw, which wants to minimize the number of these towers, we design it for the structural integrity and for the height to accommodate multiple telecommunications antennas. So in this particular case, Verizon Wireless will be our anchor tenant, but we truly anticipate, given past experience, that other telecommunications companies, T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, Dish Networks, will also co-locate. So in accordance with your zoning bylaw, it's been designed to accommodate multiple telecommunications companies. And I'll also tell you, these are very low-powered facilities. Everyone wants to know what it's going to do to the environment. And cellular communications is a very low-powered transmission. By way of comparison, I don't know if we get WBZ radio here in Southampton, but WBZ radio broadcasts out of Boston, Mass. And it broadcasts out about 50,000 watts because AM radio is designed to cover as wide a geography as possible. Cellular broadcasts out about 100 watts because it's designed to cover a small area of Easthampton and Southampton, but certainly not all of Southampton and certainly not all of the county or any of the area. It's really just designed to dovetail with the other existing infrastructure and connect up with your phone. And I realize it's a two-way communication. When you're talking on your phone, this phone is communicating to the nearest cell tower, and the cell tower is communicating this. And this is a very low-powered transmission because you're talking using it close to your body. So the corresponding transmission back is equally low-powered, and it's we've designed these facilities if there were existing infrastructure in the area, tall church steeples or water tanks or tall buildings. As we get closer to urban areas, we've utilized other tall structures as an industry. I believe in Holyoke or even Easthampton, there's a mill with SAM antennas on a smokestack. As we get closer to Springfield or Worcester, where you get taller buildings, we've put these type of antennas on residential buildings as well. And then when you get into Boston or Metro Boston, where there's a lot of tall structures, they're on equal. I did a project where we put antennas on all of the VA hospitals throughout all of New England because those were the tallest buildings in each of their respective areas. So it's a very low-powered transmission, and I think we've got a lot of experience and exposure to show that. And like I said, what this is designed to do is cover a few square miles, and it's very amorphous based on topography, but extends into the residential neighborhood going into Easthampton, and then the surrounding Cook Road going down towards Southampton, and the surrounding area in around Southampton. The other thing we did to justify the height is we provided a very extensive height analysis. And I know you guys have talked about getting a consultant to look at all this stuff, and I encourage you and applaud you to, because it's hard to understand what these are. It's very technical, but we provided the data, and you can certainly have a consultant look at this. But what this shows is the diminished coverage if we lower the height of the antennas. And because we're trying to accommodate multiple telecommunications companies, we need to make sure that the shortest one on the totem pole has equally good coverage as the one on the highest one on the totem pole. So we're very cognizant of the fact all our towers are different heights depending on the specific location, the topography, the terrain, and the existing infrastructure. But everyone wants to know what it's going to look like. A couple weeks ago, we put a balloon up in the air. I tried to advertise as much as possible. It was in the legal notice. I don't know if you know this. I put another ad in the I believe it's the Daily Gazette, the local newspaper. We notified all the abutters. We made sure in the abutter notices, they got ample notice. And we engage engineers to do this. They certify that the string was 160 feet tall, so the balloon was actually a little bit taller than the height of the tower, but it gives us a good thing. And then what we can do is prepare photo simulations. And I have paper for the board tonight to submit. But I have photographs that we'll show on the screen. I'll go through these on the screen.
Yeah, that was one thing that Richard Harris noticed, that there wasn't any of these available with the applications.
Right, I understand. But it's hard to do before with the balloon up in the air. I got to advertise the balloon, I got to let people know, so it's kind of a timing issue. Yes.
On the map, there's a star. Is that where the towers are made?
The answer is yes, and I'll just, yeah,
Laurie, we're going to wait for questions till the end, okay?
so if you look at this map, this is the lot, and it's kind of hard to see, but there's a triangle right up in here.
You've got these pictures on your,
Yeah, I'm going to show them right now.
Okay.
Like I said, we engage engineers to do this. They certify the height of the balloon. The tower location is right here, and they drive around and take representative pictures up and down the area streets. And what the red signifies is places where you couldn't see the balloon. What the yellow signifies is where there was what I would say muted view through trees and things like that. And then the green is where you have some visibility. This was taken from, help me, and so let's see, photo location 1, and they tend to go not in a
can I just
consistent.
interrupt you a minute? I'm going to pass this around. Propose to sign your name and address. Just keep going. Please. Go ahead, Francis, sorry.
Photo location 1 is straight on from Cook Road, like where the access driveway is. So this is straight on, but as you can see, there's pretty dense foliage there. And the other thing I'll tell you that having done this a long time, it doesn't matter whether we do these in the winter or the summer. When you have dense foliage, even the branches provide a visual buffer. So even though you see a lot of leaves here, you can tell just based on the distance and the density of the trees that even with the leaves off, there's not going to be any visibility from this location.
What was this address again?
So it's straight on. So I'm going to say like probably 5 Cook Road.
So it's across the street?
So this, yeah, this is directly, this is like right here.
Yeah.
And then as we go farther down Cook Road, where the power line easement, you know, you could see the balloon because there's clearing for the trees. And then what we do is we do a simulation. So, you know, even though this tower is substantially taller than the utility poles there, it looks shorter just based on distance and perspective. And I'm just going to keep jumping back to the map so I can say. Photo 3 is farther down Cook Road where there's a big clearing. It looks like a farm. And you know, you can, there was the balloon, and then as we zoom it in, you'll be able to see the tower. But what this tells me is even though the tower is 160 feet tall, you're seeing about the top 10 feet. That platform that you see is about 10 feet. So you're seeing about the top maybe 15 feet of the tower. You're not seeing a 160-foot structure. And as I'm just going to keep jumping back to the map because that actually helps. So photo location 4 is farther down where that farm area is, and there was no visibility. And as you get, you know, Cook Road is really a very, you know, there's no vistas that I would say other than this one farm and the power line easement. You're in kind of a tunnel, so there was really minimal visibility from Cook Road. And this was taken from County Road, And again, no visibility. And again, you can just see the density of the trees. And, when you have a tree in your face, even the tower behind it, you don't see. That's why, even though people see an advertisement for 160 feet, it's really of less diminished visibility. This was taken from Pomeroy Street, and I would say towards the beginning of Pomeroy Street, where there was minimal visibility. And then, you're seeing it just above the trees there. That's showing me that you're seeing really, the top 5 feet of the tower. As you go closer down Pomeroy Street, there's some visibility. This is taken from the power line easement. And because the power line easement is, I think, 75 feet wide, 90 feet wide, there's no trees in that clearing. And that's where you have, some visibility of the tower. But what this is showing me is that you're seeing the top maybe 60 feet of the tower, not 160 feet. As you go farther down Pomeroy Street, kind of where those newer houses are, and you're looking back, and those, there's no visibility from that area as well. And then this is taken from Campbell Street, which is the parallel street to Pomeroy Street, and as you get back and there's some perspective, there's some visibility there, and that's what it looks like. But like I said, it's a singular pole. It's all the cabling is inside. It's we try to make them as minimally intrusive as possible. And this was taken from County Road, farther down and looking back towards Southampton, and you can just see the balloon there. And then there's, but that's what I would call a muted view in between the trees and things like that. And then this was taken from Eloquent Drive, which is looking straight on towards the tower, parallel to Campbell, I believe. What's that street there? And there was no visibility. Or no, just above the trees. So as you get farther away, even though you have some visibility, that's telling me you're seeing the top 5 or 10 feet of the tower. We don't take pictures from everywhere, and that's why we advertise it. People have an opportunity to assess their own visibility, but I think the zoning bylaw doesn't say make them invisible, and it's really hard to do, but make them as least visually intrusive as possible, and I think we've done that to the best of the ability.
Thank you.
I'm sure you all read it. I gave you a 30-page memorandum in the zoning application package, how we meet all the siting criteria for a wireless communications facility. With the exception of the height waiver and the application waiver, which I would say is more procedural, we meet all of the requirements. We're set back amply from the roads. We're set back amply from abutting properties. We are constructing a tower that facilitates co-location. We've gone in an area that requires a minimal amount of vegetative disturbance, so I really have designed it in accordance with the town's bylaw as much as possible. We require a special permit, so in addition to the specific requirements for the telecommunications bylaw, there's standard special permit requirements. We need to make sure that it's in harmony with the bylaw, that it's not detrimental to the public convenience or welfare, that it doesn't create undue traffic, which there's been no traffic. It would not overload public water, drainage, sewer system, or any other municipal system. This is completely unmanned, so it doesn't have any impact on municipal systems, and that it will not impair the integrity or character of the district or adjacent zones or be detrimental to health, safety, and welfare. These facilities are heavily regulated by the Federal Communications Commission to be low-powered. They certainly provide a great public safety benefit by improved telecommunications, so we believe that we comply with that criteria as well. The waiver requirement is not, like I said, to the standard of a variance. It's just that the board determines that the waiver is in the public interest and not inconsistent with the purpose of the zoning bylaw. And I think given the need for the facility, given the relatively minimal visual impact, given the other requirements of the zoning bylaw to facilitate co-location, we believe that it is in the public interest and not inconsistent with the purpose and intent of the bylaw. And the last thing I'm going to say, the federal government is very involved in wireless infrastructure siting. About 30 years ago, the federal government recognized the benefit of wireless telecommunications. They adopted a very extensive act, and it's when they broke up AT&T, the big telecommunications conglomerate, into multiple telephone companies. They issued multiple wireless licenses, not just to AT&T, so we fostered competition. And now, we have multiple choices for telecommunications, both wired and wireless. And what the federal government says is you don't have to say yes, but you just can't say no without sufficient reason. You've got to have substantial evidence to justify a denial. And you can't have the effect of discriminating. You can't say, well, my AT&T phone works, therefore we don't need Verizon. We found actually that the demand for this service, towns are encouraged to do it because of the great benefit and the great public safety benefit and the great need for this type of facility. And there's been an immense amount of cases throughout Massachusetts and the entire country interpreting these things. You can't have the effect of prohibiting. You can't say, no, not in my town. And like I said, you don't have to say yes, but you just can't say no without sufficient reason. And because this facility meets all the requirements of the bylaw, with the exception of height, which is a technical limitation that we believe we've substantiated, it's very difficult for the town to say no. So I'm going to take a very deep breath and say we would respect that the town grant the special permit, and for all the reasons that we provide. I understand that we're not going to get through this tonight. The town told me at the pre-application that they intend on engaging a consultant. It's certainly your right. I encourage you to do so. I suspect this board hasn't had a lot of experience with cell towers. The public hasn't had a lot of experience with cell towers. So I encourage you to get independent. And there's several people out there that are qualified to do it. We run into the same people all the time. So I would encourage you to do that. But I'm here to answer questions. I'm here to provide the board with whatever information I can to get through this process successfully.
Okay, thank you, Francis. Questions from the board first before we take questions from the public? And feel free to comment questions.
I have a few questions.
Go ahead.
So, I'm just curious on your plowing statement that you don't need winter access. You don't need winter access. What if there was a problem?
Our technicians are adept at accessing them in the winter if necessary. They'll bring a snow vehicle in. In this particular case, because there's an existing driveway and an active business, my suspicion is that the farm plows it, but most of the places that we build are just in the middle of the woods or in the middle of a large lot. And we don't plow, we don't, if someone needed to get there, they would bring a snow vehicle.
Okay, and where's the oversight come from?
The oversight?
Oversight, just in general on these locations, these site locations. Just because you give an example, if the tower becomes defunct at some point, there's a bond posted to cover whatever the expenses of taking it down.
Right. Your zoning bylaw requires that.
Right.
So, and we agree to that. We routinely post bonds. We're anticipating that this is going to be there for a very long time. This technology isn't going
Right, no, but just bear with me, the what ifs. So let's just say it becomes a defunct tower and someone had to take it down, and there's not enough money, and it seems in the bylaws that then there would be some type of a lien posted to the land.
So somebody is going to own it in the future. If it ever becomes abandoned, that we're required to post a bond. And those bonds get renewed every year. And there's an inflation factor in it. So
Okay.
there's mechanisms to ensure. which I'll tell you is different than any other structure in the town of Southampton or in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. There's mill
Well-
buildings that were built 100 years ago that weren't, bonded, and they're abandoned buildings. But given the fact that it's a technology, it may become obsolete someday. We're not banking on it, but there's other technologies that have become obsolete. There's a mechanism in place to make sure that it becomes dismantled.
But you're leasing the spot, correct?
We lease literally 50 by 50 or some small postage stamp and a right of access. We don't have any effect on what the landowner does with the rest of the property.
But the landowner would have the lien if that whole thing didn't work out.
Our requirement, we signed a very long-term lease, but our lease requires us to remove it at the end of the term. So, but if we don't do it, if we disappear, and the town is bonded to take it down.
Okay. My other question is on your plan, the abutters plan, you show a circle for a fall zone. So, and I see you're relocating a horse shelter to get it out of the fall zone.
Yeah, that's just because where we wanted to put it, the shelter is there. Fall zone is a misnomer because these facilities don't fall. They're very highly engineered. There's been ample examples through natural disasters. During Hurricane Sandy, which was the closest that we've had to a natural disaster, no towers came down. During Katrina, which was a higher event, didn't affect New England, but it affected the Southeast, no towers came down. They're very engineered. They're engineered very specific to the location. We designed a facility. However, I think your zoning bylaw calls it a fall zone. In my world, we call it a tower height setback. We make sure that we are on landlord's property. The landlord knows what they're getting. But in this particular case, this was a challenge because there's an existing power line easement and an existing gas line easement. So where we could go, there was a horse shelter. So the landlord asked us to relocate it. It wasn't because she's concerned or they're concerned with the safety of the horses. It was just where we had to go, there was an existing structure, so we redid it.
Right, but the basis of my question really is that the high voltage lines are in the fall zone.
Correct. And we've done that many, many times. We've actually, I have built towers for the utility company because they have their own radio communications. But they're getting out of that business and coming on towers like ours. We've many times built them with power lines without any issue. The power company knows that they're safe. They've looked at it very extensively.
Okay. But just, you're moving a horse shelter, but we're not worried about the high voltage lines.
No, and the only reason is because where we have to put the compound, we were kind of keyholed because of we can't put it on the easement because...
No, that's not my point.
Right.
But we're more worried about a horse shelter than we are the power lines.
We're not worried about the horse shelter at all. It's just the location that we had to go was the shelter.
Right.
So there's other barns on the property that we're not touching that.
No, I know, but my point is you're moving it out of the fall zone.
Right. But it's not out of the fall zone, it's just away from the location.
That's just coincidence? That's just coincidence then?
Yeah, well, like I said, the landowner has horse paddocks and things that they use.
Right.
The landowner has easements on the property for the power and the gas.
Right.
So we can't go on the easements, we can't go where they were using, so this was a compromise with the landowner to put it in that specific location, but to move their shelter.
Okay. That's all I've got.
Mark?
He earlier mentioned that there would be no noise, but I think somewhere in the application I read there would be a 50 decibel noise at the perimeter fence.
No, we won't exceed that.
Won't exceed that.
In all reasonable likelihood, there will be a generator on site. The generator is what I would call the third source of power. There'll be primary power brought in from the existing power there. There'll be backup batteries, and then there'll be a generator on site in the event of a very long-term power failure. The generator doesn't run, it cycles on maybe 5 minutes once a week to make sure that it's operating, but it's only in the event of a long-term power failure. But it's a generator that's designed to mitigate noise so that it doesn't have more than 50 decibels at the property line in accordance with the zoning bylaw. And my suspicion, if there's a long-term power failure, you'll be hearing lots of other generators.
Is that, probably don't have the specific on generators, is it gas, propane?
They defer to propane, but we could agree to diesel, we could agree to propane, it doesn't really matter. Jim?
Yeah, well, I apologize. I got this afternoon, and I had my eyes dilated. I couldn't read anything for most of the day. So I might ask questions that might be in there. But number one, are there any lights on top?
No.
Perfect.
Short answer.
Short answer, yeah. The other thing, you mentioned there's an older tower within sight distance that's got old equipment on it, and it's not performing like the newer technical?
It's part of the, when you drive down Pomeroy Street, you see towers in Holyoke. There's a big, large hill, and Verizon's already on that tower. It's not that it's old, it's just with the newer technology, and that tower is over 2 miles away, but it doesn't reach the neighborhood in Southampton because of topography, because of the distance, and like I said, as we morph into higher speed data, that tower provided some coverage to the Southampton and Easthampton area, but it's because of the increase in technology, it's still utilized, it's just not covering as far.
My question was going to be, if that's the case, is it possible they could put their newer technology on the older tower?
They already have.
They already have, so they have the newer tower, okay.
And like I said, and I made a big deal about this, everyone says can't just turn up the power at the existing and avoid building a new. And these facilities are very heavily regulated with both the frequency bands that they utilize and the power output to stay below applicable FCC limits. So you just can't turn up the power at the adjacent site. You build new sites.
All right, and the last thing is the road is existing already, or are you going to have to create a road?
No, the driveway is existing.
Driveway is existing, so there's no stormwater. I was just going to add to that.
There's no stormwater issues. We're doing nothing to the existing driveway. I think we have to extend it across a little bit of the paddock, but with some gravel. We really don't, I don't like to call it a road. It's a construction driveway. It's to facilitate, we got to bring a crane in there and a foundation, a concrete truck for the foundation. They just don't want to get stuck in the mud. Once it's built, it's unmanned, so someone might come by in a pickup truck or an all-terrain vehicle, but there's no permanent impervious surface.
That's pretty much all I have for right now.
Okay, can I ask one more question?
Go ahead.
Speaking of the distance, there is a tower just under 2 miles in Easthampton away, and there's also a tower a mile and a half away on an antenna website that I went onto today, looking at towers, which is right near 141.
I'll look at that. The ones that we found were over 2 miles away, so.
There's several, and Verizon's on that tower, along with everybody else, and that's a mile and a half away from this location.
Is that the one on Brook Street?
No, the one on Brook Street is 1.9 miles away as the crow flies, but the other one is a mile and a half.
You know the address of that?
No, it was antenna, some type of antenna.
It's in Easthampton?
Oh, no, where the tower is? I think it's at Holyoke. It's 1.5 miles away. It's right, it's on, I guess it's near 141. It's funny, you can see it from 91 north heading up this way. But when you get back into town and come down the other side of the hill, you can't see it anymore.
The one that you could see from Pomeroy Street is just over 2 miles away.
Okay, that's not this one, but, so anyways.
Put that on your list to check out.
Yep, definitely.
All right, so similar to what Jim said, so what, you chose that area because, number one, you had, I'm assuming you had a willing participant to lease the property, but it's also because you didn't have to clear any roads, or it was pretty clear cut for Verizon to have to go in a property like that because there was a lot less investment you'd have to make for clearing. Why did you choose that area and not further away from the Pomeroy Street butters area and go farther to the south of that Cook property? Was there a reason for that?
Yeah, because the landowner utilizes that land for their horses, and there's, what aren't shown on the plans are other paddocks and rings for the horses. So this was talked about with the landowner to...
So it was convenient for him?
Correct.
The location, right.
Like I said, one of our biggest challenges is finding willing landowners.
Yeah.
That's one of several challenges. We need to be in a very specific area. As you get more existing infrastructure and the existing sites in Holyoke and Easthampton and Southampton, where the latitude to move gets diminished.
So the elevations, I'm assuming the elevations, if that was relocated farther south, doesn't appear like the elevations would change much. Is it going uphill or downhill? Do you know that property, the topography of it?
Like I said, we spoke to the landlord about that. We can revisit it.
Would he be amenable in moving it farther away?
We can certainly talk about that.
The only reason I say that is because of the amount of mail I received regarding, the abutters from the Easthampton side, several, 250 feet is from some of their backyards, and farther away it'd be less visible. I'm sure it's, someone had a picture they sent of the balloon test from where they lived. It was a pretty open shot. But that was my main question, if another area farther away would be amenable to the property owner.
I'm going to tell you, it really wouldn't change the radio frequency propagation. It's a very good question.
No,
and we'll have an answer to that.
I really wasn't concerned about the frequency as much as I was getting it farther away from residences.
So one of the issues is that as we go farther south, your zoning bylaw requires what I call tower height setback from abutting property lines. If I moved it that direction, you might encroach on that setback. And then I'd require a waiver from the zoning board. The planning board. And so we'll look into that, but the Commonwealth isn't going to care. We've encroached on their setbacks many times, because like you said, sometimes it's better to move it towards undevelopable land as opposed to developable land.
No, I agree. And I know Mark, and I know, what it looks like up there from the air, and I'm saying, sure, it's great because he said, oh, this would be great where I want it. Well, it's not probably where a lot of people would want it, but that's why I asked the question, to see if he had...
But like I said, if we explore that possibility, we may have to come back to the planning board and ask for an additional waiver, which would be a waiver from the tower height setback requirement.
Okay.
Which I personally would argue, these towers are designed to not fall down.
Right.
They're very heavily engineered. And the benefit of a monopole is it all the cabling is inside, which actually increases the structural integrity of it. And they've had some instances where in extreme weather, they bend, but they don't break and they don't topple. So, and I can get an engineer to certify that. So if the town were willing to waive that, I can get an engineer to say that it's designed in such a way that it won't topple. And in many cases, we have to because the lot isn't big enough, or the landowner wants it, or the town wants it in that area. So, but I think that's a very good question. And we'll certainly have an answer at the next hearing.
I have a question.
Just a minute, Lori. I guess, and that's, Cook Road is not a scenic road, I don't think, in Southampton, to my knowledge.
Not that I know of, not that I recall, so I should double check that.
I tried to look for the list, but then I couldn't find it.
It's at the clerk's office, I have it, has it, I believe.
We're more than 500 feet off of it.
Right. I would say so, yeah. All right, that's it for me for now. Now I'm going to ask the public for comments, and if you would come to the podium and speak into the microphone and just identify yourself, your name and address, and then you can ask questions or make comments. I will tell you that I received several emails from your neighbors. I received a lot. And I also received letters from a couple of your 3 city councilors as well. But I received a letter from Tamara Smith, Coney Denham, and Kim Jumrod McQuaid stating their opposition to this. Stephen Coughlin from Pomeroy Street and his wife Lisa. Britton Scott from Pomeroy Street. Oh, I'm sorry, Britton Scott from Line Street. Zach Quirk. Amanda B. She's from 5 Cook Road in Southampton. And I received a list of 57 signatures that one of the neighbors, I can't remember the name right now, went door to door, obviously, and asked for pros and cons, and they had 57 signatures here that are in opposition of this. And as late as 5:16 this afternoon, I had an email from a Marilyn from from Easthampton, and she is in opposition. So the theme of all of them had to do, and I forwarded a couple of these letters that were more important, stating zoning to Attorney Parisi. The main theme was health issues, noise perhaps, visual pollution, real estate values that their houses could be deemed less attractive if there was a cell tower nearby. So that was the main theme, and it was repeated in most of them. So if you have to come up to the microphone, please see if you can make a point once, and if not, have it repeated, because if it's the same theme over and over again, we'll be here all night. But just come up with some new information, or at least make a comment. But try not to rehash something that's already been added about that, because it's been well noted. So whoever wants to take the stage first, go ahead.
I pretty much was going to discuss what you were talking about.
Go ahead, sure.
And I don't know if I'm leaving
Nope,
it too
you
late.
can come up, Lori, just state what you'd like to.
Okay. I'm Lori Blair, 13 Pomeroy Street is my address. And my concern is also about a 20% possible drop in my home's value because of this kind of industrial tower. And, concern about the R radiation. I mean, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not an expert on this stuff, but they do mention that it's been documented. So those are my two real concerns, the property values and, the aesthetics and, any loss of value of my home. That's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you, Lori.
Hello, I'm Anna Hawley. I live at 27 Pomeroy Street. City Councilor Tamara Smith, Connie Denham, and Kiam Jamrog McQuaid asked me to read the letter.
Go ahead.
That's okay. All right. Dear members of the Southampton Planning Board, we're writing in our capacities as Easthampton City Councilors to express our strong opposition to the proposed wireless telecommunications tower at 1 Cook Road in Southampton, and to advocate on the behalf of many Easthampton residents who would be directly affected by this project. While the proposed facility is located within Southampton, its impacts would not stop at the municipal boundary. Numerous Easthampton residents live in close proximity to the proposed site and would experience the visual, economic, and quality of life consequences associated with the construction of the large telecommunications tower adjacent to established residential neighborhoods. These residents have invested significant financial resources, time, and effort into their homes and neighborhood with the expectation that the character of their community would be preserved and protected. The proposed tower would introduce a highly visible industrial-scale structure into a predominantly residential setting. It would permanently alter the surrounding landscape and become a dominant feature in the daily views of nearby homeowners, affecting not only individual properties, but the overall character of the neighborhood. Residents have also raised concerns regarding potential impacts on property values, marketability of homes, and the desirability of the area for current and future homeowners. In addition, many residents have expressed concerns regarding the proximity of the facility to family homes and children. Regardless of differing views on the scientific literature surrounding radio frequency emissions, these concerns are sincerely held and deserve meaningful consideration as part of the public review process. Local government has an obligation to exercise caution when evaluating projects that may have long-term consequences for residential communities. We recognize and support the need for reliable cellular service and modern telecommunications infrastructure. However, the question before the Planning Board is not whether improved service is desirable, but whether this particular location is appropriate. To date, many residents remain unconvinced that the applicant has demonstrated that 1 Cook Road is the only feasible location capable of meeting service objectives. Before approving a project with such significant neighborhood impacts, the applicant should be required to provide a thorough and objective analysis of alternative sites, co-location opportunities, and less intrusive solutions. The burden of this proposal would fall disproportionately upon nearby residents, while the primary financial benefits would accrue to private corporate interests and participating property owners. For that reason, we respectfully urge the Planning Board to give substantial weight to the testimony and concerns of the families whose homes, property values, daily views, and quality of life would be most directly affected. Accordingly, we respectfully request that the Southampton Planning Board deny the application for the proposed tower at 1 Cook Road unless and until a comprehensive review of alternative locations, co-location opportunities, visual impacts, neighborhood effects, and potential property value impacts has been completed and made available for public review. If less harmful alternatives exist, they should be pursued before imposing a significant industrial structure upon an established residential area. The residents of Easthampton and Southampton deserve dependable cellular service. They also deserve solutions that respect our municipal relationship, preserve our Easthampton residential charm, and fairly balance the interests of residents with the need of infrastructure development. We urge the Planning Board to protect the interests of affected families and reject the proposed tower at 1 Cook Road. Thank you for your consideration of this matter and for your service to the public. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'll try to piggyback on that without overlapping too much. I'm Elizabeth Hawley, also of 27 Pomeroy Street in Easthampton. And a lot of the points I was going to bring up are the same as what you all both said, but I want to take a little bit of issue with statements about the location as it abuts to Easthampton residences. I have just a little map here. This is 1,500-foot radius of the cell tower proposed site. I don't know if it's exactly on this star dot on the property, but the property's not that, and 1,500 feet is general guidance on how far away residences and schools should be away from cell towers in order to minimize the health risks of various things, which I have a list of, so I will read that too. And so this is the 1,500-foot radius. There are 15 Southampton homes within that radius. There are 111 Easthampton homes in that radius. So it really is not just a Southampton matter. It's affecting your Easthampton neighbors as well. So it's a very impactful decision you're making for two different communities. And, two in one, and so I'm trying to skip over the stuff, not repeat things. So some of the documented health risks, there are skeptics, but there are also many, many peer-reviewed scientific studies showing a number of reported health issues, including neurological effects, fertility issues, and cancer. And the American Academy of Pediatrics warns especially of the danger to children with their developing systems. And we've witnessed this close to home in Pittsfield, Mass., where in 2020, the cell tower was constructed near homes, causing radiation-related health issues among residents, including children. Residents reported sleep problems, skin rashes, ringing in ears, headaches, dizziness, nausea, and cognitive issues. This led to extensive legal disputes and the involvement of the Massachusetts Board of Health. And that tower was shorter than this one. And I am not against cell towers. I am a software engineer. I work from home. I do that every day in my services, fine. And so I am in agreement with the Easthampton counselors that have said, yes, it's important, but what's another location that will be less risky to the health, property values, wildlife in that particular area? The petition is up to 58 submissions now, and many of those people live within this 1,500-foot radius, and some of them do include Southampton residents as well as Easthampton. Let me just look at my notes real quick, make sure I didn't forget anything. And I do have another copy of that petition, but it seems like you've got it, so. Oh, and I mean, just to say that we just bought our home a year ago, and when we were going around looking around for properties, we immediately ruled out anything with a cell tower because of all these considerations. So we see exactly how our property value would be decreased because we wouldn't have considered a property within this close range of a tower such as this. So it's one thing, in these cities and where that's expected, but this is a quaint rural, not rural, but neighborhoods where a lot of the people don't want to have this choice thrust upon them. Thank you.
My name is Terry Steffen, and I live at 10 Pomeroy Street. I've been there for 49 years, and 1,500 feet is too close to my home. That's all.
Anyone else? Questions, comments? I will send you, yeah, you can go back up a little bit, come out. I'll send you a copy of the counselor's letter. I don't know if I did or not, but I will send it to you.
You sent a bunch of the earlier ones. I'm sure people came in throughout the day, so that's fine.
I'll resend the one, especially from the city councilors. Yeah.
This is the visibility thing from our house.
Is that, you posted that?
Yeah, my
correct?
partner did.
Yeah, I think that's,
Yeah, we sent
I
it.
think that's the one I saw.
Can I see it?
Yeah.
And this is from what number?
27 Pomeroy.
Which is across this street from the abutters, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
My daughter thought it was great, it's a red balloon.
Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I sent it along to you.
Yeah, you sent it along.
Yeah, I just wanted to see it. I couldn't quite see it. No,
I know, it's hard, I should,
Can't see it tonight.
I can hook my phone up.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
What's the definition of an abutter? Is it that 1,500 radius or?
Within 300 feet of the property, of the
property line
of One Cook Road.
I also want to quickly note, the visibility test was between the hours of 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. when most of our neighbors were at work. In fact, most of our neighbors didn't even know about the cell tower because it was mailed to us via certified mail, so people had to sign for it. So most people had to go to the post office to actually get the letter.
And most people didn't.
And most people didn't, as the post office person said to me. Hardly anyone picked it up. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Probably thought they were being sued.
Yeah. I certainly was like, I don't
No,
know.
that's what the regulations say.
Yeah.
And if people pick it up, fine, but it was done, and I think the test was done 2 weeks after you mailed that, correct? And a legal notice was posted? The test was at least a week after.
You put an ad in the paper.
Yeah.
I put an ad in the paper.
And the test
we sent
was-
out notices, so.
Yeah, and the test was, what was it, a week or 2
And
weeks?
there's no
after?
requirement that we notify abutters.
Right.
But because the abutters get the notice of the public hearing,
Yes.
they're the ones that are most concerned with the tower. There's a couple things I just want to respond in.
Please do, yes.
We live with radio frequency emissions everywhere, every day. I couldn't hook up to the Wi-Fi here, but we have Wi-Fi in this room, which is just another form of radio frequency transmission. We all stare at computer monitors all day, and there's radio frequency emissions. I venture to say that everybody, I'm not going to say 100%, but everyone's got a cell phone in their pocket right now. Your zoning bylaw encourages us to go on existing structures, which there are nothing tall in Southampton. But if there was a tall residential building, we'd be encouraged to go on that. I happen to go to a church that has a 150-foot church steeple, and in the steeple are 2 sets of radio antennas. I put a tower in the high school parking lot of the high school that my children go to, or did go to, they've graduated, but and because the parking lot shared a parking lot with the fire station. So my kids parked underneath the cell tower every day because it was the shortest walk to high school. As we get closer to urban America, we've put them on in places. And so there's ample examples throughout Western Massachusetts, let alone Massachusetts. There's thousands of these facilities already in existence in Massachusetts. I haven't looked at Easthampton, but I happened to drive in Easthampton to get a cup of coffee during the visibility exam, and I saw some antennas on a steeple, not a steeple, a smokestack of a mill, which has an immense amount of activity in there. I couldn't tell if it was residential, but it's certainly a lot of commercial activity and commercial tenants. This technology we've been living with for a very long time. It's the same technology that we've had with AM radio and FM radio, and the police and fire have their own telecommunications. So there's ample examples to show how safe it is. That's the concerned citizen. The lawyer in me says that the federal government has, in their efforts to encourage this technology and encourage wireless telecommunications, have said that zoning boards can't take that into, planning boards and municipal authorities can't take that into consideration because they've deemed it safe. They regulate the frequencies that we can operate at. They regulate the power output. And they've said in the Telecommunications Act that zoning boards can't take that into account because they don't want, I don't keep saying zoning boards, but municipal boards, saying we want to change the limit. There's no, anywhere, 1,500-foot restriction. I'm not sure where that comes from.
Auburn, Massachusetts, I can list off the towns.
But the town of Southampton nor the town of Easthampton has a requirement like that. And if they did, I would just ask for a waiver from the board. Because I don't think that there's a place in Southampton, I'm pretty sure there's no place in Easthampton that would be 1,500 foot from a residence. So to put an arbitrary restriction on that just requires us to ask for, I haven't looked at the existing facility in Southampton, but I'm sure it's more than 1,500 feet from existing residences. And I know in Easthampton, just from my own visual. So it's this is a technology that we've been living with lots of similar technologies for a very long time. So, so if we were to go away, people are still going to be living with the same radio frequency emissions that are going to come off this tower. And like I said, everyone, I do this for a living. I'm out every night of life, and everyone always says there's got to be somewhere else you can go. Go somewhere else. But and we've done extensive due diligence. I will tell you the board raised a very good question. Can you move it south on the lot? And that's a legitimate question, and we'll come back and answer that. And but you can't say go somewhere else because there's nowhere else to go. There's not an industrial neighborhood anywhere near here. If I go north into Easthampton, I go in a more densely residential neighborhood. If I go south into Southampton, I go into another densely residential neighborhood. If I go to the east, I go into conservation land, and we saw on the maps that there's really no lots of size to the west. So everyone says there's got to be somewhere else, but we've done an immense amount of due diligence. But I do believe that it's in this board's purview to say, prove that you can't go farther south on the lot, because I think that addresses some of the concerns that we had with respect to some of the abutters on Pomeroy Street. So we'll certainly look into that. And like I said, I know the board is going to retain a radio frequency consultant. Don't trust me. Get your own consultant, because the data speaks for itself. It's science, and many boards in your capacity have done the same thing. So
There's one question I forgot to ask you about the height. Now, why wouldn't you go with a lower height?
Because we designed this for Verizon. However, your zoning bylaw says that we have to design it to accommodate multiple carriers. Mm-hmm. So next year when AT&T shows up and we build too short a tower, they're just going to build another tower next door, which is not permitted by your bylaw. And given the challenge, so your zoning bylaw requires us to build it to the minimum height necessary to accommodate multiple carriers. It's akin to a vertical strip mall. You don't build it for one, you build it for 3 or 4, of which one's the anchor tenant. So we're conscious of that. And then we need to make sure that it's kind of like a vertical totem pole. There's different antennas at different heights. And we need to make sure that the antennas at the lower heights perform just as well as the antennas at the higher heights. So one of the documents that we highlighted in your consultant review is a height analysis. Your zoning bylaw limits us to 100 feet. And just so you know, there's a 5-foot differential. The tower is 160 feet, but the antennas are attached at 155 feet. So that's what all the, because that's where they're attached. So they don't exceed the height of the tower.
Does that mean that our bylaw is outdated by stating 100 feet?
No, because in some areas,
That was
100 feet.
written a long time ago.
It's just an arbitrary number. And quite frankly, I listen to the radio frequency engineers. They say, here, I need this height. And then I look at the zoning bylaw and it says I'm limited to 100. Sometimes I get a waiver from the planning board, sometimes I get a variance from the zoning board. But the height in your zoning bylaw is, I don't want to say irrelevant to us, but it's, we're beholden to the radio frequency engineers who say, we need this height at this location.
Yeah, but again, how, in this day and age, how outdated is that 100-foot figure if it's arbitrary. I mean, if nobody's going to go for 100 feet and you say you need multiple carriers, then we should probably
It
increase that.
depends on topography and terrain. The towers in Holyoke on the hill are probably not that tall because they're on a massive hill.
On the mountain?
On the mountain, exactly. So all they've got to do is get above the trees. They might be 60, 70, 80 feet tall. But as you get into flat land, as you get down in like Southampton, for example, it's flat. So you got to get above the trees and above the terrain. So it's very location specific. And it also is the distance with the existing infrastructure. So it's all very scientifically calculated. But and I don't want to say your zoning bylaw is irrelevant. I don't want to denigrate it, but it's location specific. Sometimes taller towers are less visible because of the location. Sometimes shorter towers are very visible because of location. So it's all very location driven.
Can you speak to decreased property values?
I will tell you, it's not a requirement of your zoning bylaw that we address property values. However, we've done this many times, and in other states, the effect on property values is a criteria that we have to establish. And we routinely engage appraisers to say that it doesn't have an effect on property values because they look at a much bigger picture. And I can't get anyone to say this, but the lack of having good cellular coverage has an effect on property values because people want good coverage. It's all a function of a variety of factors. There's already a high-tension power line going through this neighborhood. So some people say, and I don't believe so, that has an effect on property values. There's no data to support that. And we, in other jurisdictions, I can get an appraiser to say, there was a house with a view of a tower and there was no effect on property values based on a sales transaction, an appraisal transaction. So there's ample data to show that it doesn't have an effect on property values.
But you're correct, it's not in the bylaws.
What's that?
They said the criteria is not in the bylaws.
Yeah, it's not in your zone, so I didn't produce any data to support that. I don't think we need to, because we look at the zoning bylaw and say, does it meet the requirements of the zoning bylaw? And with the exception of the height, we believe that it does.
Are there any other questions, comments to make before we wrap this up? Because this will be continued because we are going to discuss after we adjourn you people, Mr. Parisi, that we are going to discuss a peer reviewer. We have 2 quotations from people that will critique their work in this application. So that means we're probably a minimum of 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks. Richard Harris, our board consultant, who couldn't be with us tonight, will be back for the June 24th meeting, but I doubt seriously that review would be back by then. So I will defer to you. Do you think we should do this in July? Do you think that peer review would be due in July?
Yeah, I would say let's continue to the July meeting. I agree with everything you said. I have, thought I had you on my calendar already.
I'm thinking of July 8th because the 1st, a lot of people probably will be away for the holiday.
I already have you on my calendar for July 8th, so yes.
Yeah. What's the board, is everybody around pretty much, the majority, July 8th?
I think so.
Yeah.
Should be.
Can you fly back?
My eyes are cleared up by then. Yeah, no, should be fine.
So, given that, I will ask, okay, I'm sorry, Laura, you had your hand up again.
I was just going to ask about how tall a tower has to be before it has to have special lights for airplanes, that kind of thing.
The rule of thumb is it gets a more look-see after 200 feet. So, and we're very conscious, mainly because once it's lit, you got to maintain the lighting, and changing the light bulb is a chore. So we consciously stay under that 200-foot threshold. And I submitted in the package a database research from the FAA website to show that no lighting is required at this specific location at the height we're proposing.
Yeah, I went down, I drove down Lang Street, County Road, down to the 56 HYN towers. There's 3 of them in that field, and those are 249 on the ground. And they're very close. They're a mile and a half closer to the airport. So I just have to drive by and check that out.
Sometimes I have towns ask me to put a light on because of, there's an airport nearby without, like a municipal airport or, non-instrumentational airport. So pilots like to have the light, but we generally don't like them because then we got to change the light bulb. And I'm not climbing a tower to change a light bulb.
I do fly airplanes, and there's a place in North Carolina that has a 3,000-foot tall tower. I would hate to have to change the bulb in that.
There's towers in Needham, Mass, like right on 128, that are 1,500 feet tall. This is 160. It's a whole different technology. Like I said, we're not trying to broadcast throughout all of the county. We're just trying to cover a few square miles in Southampton and Easthampton.
Okay, so can I have a motion to continue this hearing until July 8th?
So moved.
I'll second it.
At 7 PM right here in Town Hall. The motion was made by Jim and seconded by Bob.
Yep.
All in favor? Aye.
Right.
Now, for all you folks, mark that in your calendar if you want to come back. I will say that, legally, we have to publish it in the paper. I know a lot of people don't get the paper anymore. I don't know if they even get it online anymore. And unless you're in a butter, you won't really know what's going on in town, but that's the nature of the beast, I'm afraid. But if you can spread the word to some of these other folks along your neighborhood who, I know there was some wrote to me that said they couldn't be here tonight, but I did tell them that it would be continued. I didn't know the date at the time. But if you could spread the word in the neighborhood for those that may have wanted to be here and weren't tonight, that come back July 8th, we'll have a peer review on his application to review what he submitted, and we will go from there. So thank you very much for your patience tonight and your participation.
I know you want to get out of here. If you have a minute for a question, this is pertaining to Monday night we had the conservation meeting.
Yeah.
And they went over the peer review for Blue Wave. The question I had for you is, what they're saying is that it's not their responsibility for the aquifer that was...
Conservation? Yeah.
Yeah, so that, they said that would be, the planning board would be able,
Right.
so are they correct in that? So, okay, I just wanted to make sure.
If who you're speaking about submits an application, they have to come here for that, and that's us, because conservation is just with wetlands and the river and stuff.
Okay.
It's out of their jurisdiction that comes to us.
Okay.
And again, it's all what's written in the existing bylaw of solar
Yeah,
right now.
I know we looked at, like, online, it gives a description of what they're required to do. And the first thing is the Mass General laws of drinking water, preserving the drinking water and stuff, which I would think would be the aquifer, but apparently I'm wrong, so.
Rick, there used to be a committee called the Barnes Aquifer Protection Agency.
Yeah.
That was a 20-year charter. That 20 years expired and the committee dissolved. They haven't, I heard rumor they were going to start it back up, but it never got voted in.
Yep.
So
we are.
chase that. I mean, talk to the other communities, because it was Westfield, Holyoke, Easthampton, Southampton, I know, I was on the committee representing this board, had a seat on that committee. But that dissolved, and we don't want to wait, so I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, so what was it called again?
BAPAC, Barnes Aquifer Protection Committee? I don't know. BAPAC is what they call it, yeah, BAC.
I'll look into that, we'll see, but.
Yeah, if they could reestablish that, it was a great tool, and they kept an eye on a lot of things protecting our aquifer, and I thought it was a very nice
It's a big,
program.
it's a lot of communities in it, so.
Yes.
And I just wanted to make sure we weren't dropping the ball there, but, George was right, so, good to go. All right, thanks, guys.
All right, we'll see you, bye-bye.
This is.
Is it typical of all these drop-in people just all night long? And
All these
just- All the drop-ins?
Not usually, this is nothing we had to vote on, this is Rick just looking for some information. But the one that we had tonight.
Isn't that typically should be the public speak at the beginning?
Yeah, typically, it's publicly invited to speak.
Yeah.
Usually there's a half-hour thing that they find more time to take a half-hour.
Just feel the mics are still hot or so.
Like they should, people come and ask questions.
Okay.
Presentations. They actually, once the hearing starts, usually the hearing is confined to
Half an hour is generous.
Yeah, doesn't exist, but now you know it does.
Tell Mark he needs to help us out.
Okay, great.
Thank you. So we're going to, did everybody get a, no, I emailed so much stuff. You guys got the peer review contract, the contracts, right?
You got the proposal.
Okay.
Yes.
What's your idea on that?
Both of them, I mean, I'm not a RF specialist, but they both seem very qualified applicants. And I think the one was like, was it $5,000, and it will charge you extra if we need to.
Yeah.
The other one was,
Flat $5,000.
charge it, $6,500, and that'll include a complete review and one appearance.
Yeah.
So it's it's how much more, it's up to however the applicant wants to pay, but I think, we'll be in charge of it, so.
Now, number one, let's answer this right now. Do you want an appearance from the peer review person, or you just want the report?
An appearance would be
I
good.
think the applicant should be here to address, I mean, it's going to cost $1,500 to have him or her. That's if we go with the second consultant. For the first consultant, so I'll do it for $500, and if I reach that high, I will charge you, $400 an hour for everything after that. Sort of an unknown on our part, and we have to approve everything up and over $5,000 as it came along.
Right. I don't think they're going to quibble with it because,
Our
he might.
concern is really, who do we want to do it? I mean, the money part is their problem.
Yeah, right.
Correct. I thought both of them were very similar, so.
Yeah, I did too. I felt that their scopes seemed the same, it's just their billing process was different.
I agree, and I'm not qualified to even comment because it's, a lot of this is over my head. But the only thing that stood out to me was the guy from Mr. Lawton has done a lot of work for Mr. Parisi in the past, doing peer review. So I'm saying, I don't know, does that give him an edge because he knows this guy and he's
done this
done
review
it,
for this company before us.
done his
Just
head
for
work?
no conflicts, it's easier to go with the other one.
That's what I thought.
Oh, yeah, and he states it in his letter, too, there's no conflict here or anything, but whatever. But he did say that he's done, but he
The
did
fact that you
say,
have to bring that up,
but he did say he's done a lot of work for him.
there's a message there if you have to bring it up.
Yeah.
I would rather go with the other firm. It just seems very straightforward. There's no conflict with anybody because they don't do this. All they do is review them. That's all they do.
So what do you think? We go with Cityscape instead of Mark
I think
Lawton?
they're both very qualified, and with that possibility of a conflict, I think playing it safe, going.
And I would-
Richard did say he's dealt with both companies, but that one he said he'd work with them more.
And I would put in there that we don't have to have them come up in Florida, but that we can do a virtual that they could be here virtually at that meeting to address any issues. I don't think, live, I mean, I don't think
They
they,
might have somebody in New England, in the New England office,
okay.
you know?
If they're putting their name out there for peer reviews, they have to be able to come in.
Yeah, they offered both in that proposal.
All right, so we will, let me go again here. So we'll get it with in person, right?
Yeah, he said if you show up in person for an extra $1,500.
And we think we need that, right? Right.
I think it would be very important.
In fairness to the abutters, I think.
Okay.
My guess is there's going to be a lot more people in the next meeting.
Review analysis to include attendance by Cityscape representative at one related meeting, either in person or via video conference, public hearing, blah, blah, blah. $6,500. Additional meetings, if necessary, $1,500. Attendance for related planning board work sessions, 1,000. So at the very least, it looks like it might top out at $8,000 for him.
Yeah, and the other one's an unknown. He said, well, I'm going to charge you $5,000. I think that's going to be enough. And if not, I'll let you know as I get working through the process.
I don't, this is just, I guess it's neither here nor there, because it's a reality of how this is presented, but the tone of the application is pretty much, we're going to do this, how much work do you want to make us do? And they pointed out continuously through the application how you have no choice in this matter because of the 1996 Telecommunications Act and blah, 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 and they just keep referring back and back and back to this, like, we're just here because we have to be. And I don't know what you do with that, I guess nothing, but.
Yeah, I don't hear that. I just give the data.
Well, I know, but you read it and it's kind of,
He wants to make us aware.
yes.
Now I'm confused about this. So this says the town of Southampton as being I've got to sign this agreement. So I let Mr. Parisi know that we've engaged them, but
He's going to hire them.
he's got to hire them, is that it?
No.
Consultant, Cityscape
Well, the town can
consultants?
hire them and they have to pay. I mean, that's where they spell it out in their application that they will
I'll check with
reimburse.
Richard by email on this, but the he's got his contract here for the town of Southampton to sign the contract, the planning board.
Yeah, we have to be reimbursed from the.
Okay, right. So I'll write to him, I say we've selected Cityscape, I have to submit the contract. It'll be a minimum of $6,500 and a maximum of $8,000.
Yeah.
Does that sound good?
Yes.
Well,
Or,
there are other fees in there. Other things come up, which I have no idea what they are. I'd just say it starts at $6,500. Does he have a copy? Did you give him a copy of that contract?
no.
You might as well.
Well, I'll email him a copy of it.
Right, and I wouldn't sign it until I have a check, because then we're on the hook.
Yep.
Or I wouldn't mail it in until we have a check.
I agree. And we probably should make the payment because then we're
Right,
in
if we
control.
make the control,
Yes.
they're working for us,
Okay.
control.
Here's his additional fees here. Per diem rate schedule, additional services. Regulatory review and ordinance recommendations, presentation workshops, meeting attendance, and expert testimony outside of reviewed fees shall be contracted at the following rates. So if he does the review and shows up at one meeting, we're not going to need him again, I don't think.
No, we won't, but if for some reason something comes up, an issue comes up that we need them more, I just didn't want to cap it at 8, I don't know.
What do you want me to cap it?
I would say at
10?
6,500.
6,500 to 10,000?
No, what I would do is, I think I would say $6,500, and then if it requires further action from these people, we will then bring that price to you and you'll have to approve it. I mean, that's the way I would probably.
Yeah, and if he's got the proposal, he knows
Right, he'll
that's
see
what
it
we're
anyway.
looking at.
You'll see it anyway, but I
Right.
wouldn't cap it because we don't know.
Right.
But 6,500 for starters.
Yeah.
And if anything arises out of that we have to go further, then we'll have a discussion with them.
Right.
Okay, a motion that we engage the services of Cityscape Consultants.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made by Mark, seconded by Jim.
Taught me that.
All in favor? Aye.
That was from the select board.
I never had that.
case you hadn't noticed, I'm the note taker too.
I saw that we don't have the secretary.
All right, are we done with the?
We might have when I,
No,
typically at this meeting, when you're sworn in the first meeting, we do elections of officers, but in fairness to Paul Fergal, who couldn't be here tonight, I'm going to postpone the elections until June 24th. So he's the current vice chair, and we have committee appointments that some of us sit on. So we'll do election of officers June 24th. But now I'll ask for an adjourn. You think we should adjourn?
The last question I want to ask, I just want to make sure, I don't know, how many days do we have to act on this?
Yeah, that was going back and forth between Richard and the attorney.
Yeah.
I think it was 65 days. 65 days, I think, to start the public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure we're
and
covered.
you've accomplished that.
And Richard was suggesting that if the application wasn't totally complete, that sort of doesn't start the kickoff date. But the attorney recountered that idea.
No, he didn't indicate to me that we were any, because he thought that it probably would come back in July after the peer
Can I
review.
just ask one more question, just see if anybody cares about this, back to the cell tower? So our bylaw states that it's got to be the carrier that's applying for this special permit. It's not the infrastructure person. And so he, in the application, stresses the fact that, we have a feel that Verizon will do it if we complete this. But that's not in this package. We don't see anything that Verizon will do this. Do we want to see that, or we don't care?
If they have it, he says they have it.
He says they have it. I think it should be part of the application, and it's not in there.
I didn't read through it all, but you couldn't find it?
Oh, maybe I missed it, but I didn't see it.
But make a note of that, so when Richard Harris comes back, we can bring that to his attention, and he can verify that, and then we can go from there.
And I had it written down tonight to ask him, but it just seemed like it's just a technicality. But
Perfect, well, we're going to copy that.
okay,
Yeah.
I think we should. I mean,
Yeah.
because technically, he doesn't have a right to even be in here asking for the special permit.
He just-
If there's
some guy here
nothing,
put him-
but we're still doing the waiver to allow Verizon to tag along on this.
Yeah, so.
It'd be nice to have some documentation that they are interested.
Right, right.
Any more business, Paul?
I hope not.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
All in favor? Sorry, Paul, I'll wait for you.
All gonna adjourn?
JL and MD again? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.